The Rules Committee will come to order. The chair will be in receipt of a motion from the gentlewoman from California, Mrs. Torres.
Mr. Chairman, I move the committee grant a rule providing for the consideration of the Senate amendment to the House amendment to the Senate amendment to H.R. 2617, the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2023. The rule makes an order a motion offered by the chair of the Committee on Appropriations or her designee that the House concur in the Senate amendment to the House amendment to the Senate amendment to H.R. 2617. The rule waives all points of order against consideration of the motion and the Senate amendment. The rule provides that the Senate amendment and the motion shall be considered as read. The rule provides 1 hour of debate on the motion, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking minority member of the Committee on Appropriations or their designees. The rule provides that the House shall be considered to have taken from the Speaker's table H.R. 4373 with the Senate amendment thereto and to have concurred in the Senate amendment. The rule provides the Senate concurrent Resolution 51 is hereby adopted. The rule provides that House Resolution 366 is hereby adopted. The rule provides that the House shall be considered to have taken from the Speaker's table H.R. 1082 with the Senate amendments thereto and to have concurred in the Senate amendments. Finally, the rule provides that the House Resolution 1382 is hereby adopted.
Thank you very much. Let me just say, we've already heard testimony on the omnibus, so let me just explain the remaining items in the rule. The rule deems as passed two resolutions, H. Res. 366, sponsored by Representative Wahlberg, H. Res. 1382, sponsored by Representative Williams. It also deems the Senate amendments to H.R. 1082, sponsored by Representative Chris Smith in New Jersey, which prohibits the unauthorized sale of ride-hauling signage and study the incidence of fatal and non-fatal assaults in TNC and for-hire vehicles in order to enhance safety and save lives. It deems the Senate amendment to H.R. 4373, which is a one-week continuing resolution to allow for the clerical work of enrolling the omnibus. And finally, it deems S-Con Res. 51, which removes language in the omnibus vehicle that was also in the NDAA. And if anybody has questions on the Safe Banking Act, they can submit them in writing. Mr. Perlmutter will respond to you over the holidays. So let me just say, you've heard the motion from the gentlewoman from California. Is there any amendment or discussion? Mr. Cole.
Just quickly, because this is in all probability our last meeting of this Congress, I want to again thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you for your leadership on this committee, not just over this 2 years, but 4 years, and appreciate, speaking for the Republicans, the manner in which you've dealt with us throughout. And it's been fair, and we haven't always liked the result or every decision you've made, but we very much respect the manner in which you've made it and the way in which you have treated us, and we'll try and reciprocate in the future. I also meant yesterday and forgot to congratulate our friends, Mr. Raskin and Mr. Morelli. They're assuming new positions of responsibility. I congratulate them for that. They will understand if I do not wish them success. But they're both going to be missed on this committee, and certainly our friend Mr. Perlmutter, who from the grave will haunt us over the Safe Banking Act. Not that I wish that to happen anytime soon, but hopefully we'll get that done before you come back and do that. And so, again, I just want to thank each and every member of the committee on both sides of the aisle. Everybody here has worked hard for 4 years. I share your pride, Mr. Chairman, in the manner in which this committee has operated under your leadership and the civility that's been maintained throughout. I really do. And you're to be commended for this, and thank you for being the institutionalist we all know you have always been, and for looking after the rights of the membership and the best interests of the institution during your stewardship here. So, well, yield back.
Well, I appreciate that, and thank you very much. And it means a lot to me coming from you because I respect your service in this institution, and I want to thank everybody on this committee for the cooperation and for the patience and for your commitment to public service. And we deal with everything up here, and by that measure, we should be the most contentious, most unfriendly and unwelcoming committee in the world. But we're the opposite, and it is because of the people who serve on this committee and the example that Mr. Cole sets. I say this all the time to people, that one of the highest compliments that I think we ever got was during the very contentious debates on impeachment, and I think it was Lawrence O'Donnell said that the Rules Committee provided a master class in civility and how to deal with contentious issues. I mean, we had strong disagreements on that, but I mean, it didn't deteriorate into hell like it did in some other committees. So I appreciate that. I also want to again thank the staff. I mean, you know, Don and Kelly have been unbelievable. Everybody on the staff, Democratic side and Republican staff, they do all the work, and we can never ever thank them enough. And so so I appreciate your comments, and look, yeah, announcements haven't been made of who's going to be who, but if this is the leadership on the Republican side when you assume the majority, this committee will continue to operate with civility, and I hope, because we've got some doozies who serve in this place, that the people look at your example and follow it, because you know, at the end of the day, we don't want to get stuff done. And so, having said that, any other, Mr. Perlmutter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been a little cranky last couple meetings, but
No
my attitude has changed. And you know, since this is my last last hearing with this committee, I just want to tell everybody, and I don't want to get too maudlin or misty about it, but this committee deals with every subject. We've done it, as you say, with civility. I've developed enduring friendships and respect for everybody on this committee. And I just want to thank you for that. I do want to make a record on the amendments that I offered and am withdrawing, because I think they may come into play at some point. The first one, particularly on the cost of living adjustments that are provided for in the Ethics Reform Act of 1989, which have been, for the last 14 years, denied in a one-sentence section of the appropriations bills. I would suggest to my friends who are on the Appropriations Committee to not have that placed in any further appropriations bills. It stresses and strains the individuals here, and it's unconstitutional under the 27th Amendment. Now, because of the procedural posture we find ourselves in, I'd like to press forward with these amendments, but I'm not, because government will shut down tonight. There is not a lot of latitude to be making big amendments and sending things back to the Senate. Also, we are facing a bomb cyclone, and the winds are going to pick up. It's going to get colder, and people may be, you know, locked in here for Christmas, and we don't want that to happen. But the bottom line is, if we don't want to proceed with cost of living adjustments, there has to be a repeal of the Ethics Reform Act, because that prohibits members from honoraria, from speaking fees, from a number of things that we felt back in 1989 were inappropriate. And so I would just say, from an institutional standpoint, from a policy standpoint, that we've got to do better, and we have to follow the Constitution, being the 27th Amendment. The second thing I wanted to say for the record is, and I appreciate Mr. Cole's comments about safe banking, it really does need to be passed. It is a problem that can be solved if both houses of the legislature would do it. It will help save lives because there's so much cash. It will reduce armed robberies and theft and burglaries and all those kinds of things. And it will allow for women-owned, minority-owned, small businesses, veterans-owned businesses to have access to capital. And those are the reasons that I pursued this with such vigor and so persistently over the course of the last few years, because it really is a problem we can solve. It's not that complicated. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for, you know, becoming my friends and working in such a way that I'm proud of this institution.
Well, thank you very much. Believe it or not, we're all going to miss you. I mean, we really are. So. Anybody else? And so the next time we meet,
Mr.
you know, I'll be sitting here, but I'm happy to, oh, Mr. Eck, I'm sorry.
If you'd indulge me for a second, Mr. Chairman. Since I'm going to be leaving the Rules Committee too, I wanted to say a word of farewell and thanks to you. In your hands, the Rules Committee has turned out, to my experience, to be the opposite of everything I thought it was. I thought that it was a committee that was defined just by power plays and power moves and power ploys. And you have shown that you can put justice right at the heart of this committee. And that's a remarkable thing that you've done in, you know, the history of the Rules Committee. And I also thought it was going to be very technical and rules-bound. It turns out it's the one committee that's really not governed by rules in terms of how we operate, but you've shown that it's about making progress. And so I just want to thank you, and I'm going to be a fellow ranking member with you as we get into the 118th Congress, and I'll think about your example all the time. And so I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful, Mr. Cole, to you. You're a class act in every way possible. I've watched you carefully in all of your speeches and your actions on this committee, and to me, it's just very impressive how you proceed. You redeem my faith in conservatism because you show me that conservatism is about a respect for tradition and process and wisdom, and it's not about destroying things and tearing things down. So I'm grateful to you for your leadership, and I want to thank the staff and all of the wonderful members of this committee. I'll never forget this Congress. I yield back to you.
Thank you very much. Next time we meet, the gavel will be in somebody else's hand. I'm happy to lend you this gavel. My dad, who owned a package store, for those who don't know what package stores are, they're liquor stores. We call them in Massachusetts. But when I took control of this, the gavel was missing, and so my dad said, "I'm going to give you the gavel." And so he gave it to me, and then I was reading it. I thought it said Jim McGovern, Chairman of the Rules Committee. It actually said Walter F. McGovern, President, Worcester County Package Store Association. And if you want to know why I've maintained my calm, it's because I think if you unscrew it, it's a flask. In any event. But anyway, having said all that. That's the best. Yeah. So, all right. Any other member of the discussion? Hearing none, the question is now on the motion offered by the gentleman from California. All those in favor will say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is agreed to. For one last time, we request a recorded vote. Recorded vote has been requested. Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Torres. Aye. Mrs. Torres, aye. Mr. Perlmutter.
Not passing, aye.
Mr. Perlmutter, aye. Mr. Raskin.
Aye.
Mr. Raskin, aye. Ms. Scanlon.
Aye.
Ms. Scanlon, aye. Mr. Morelli.
Mr. Morelli votes aye.
Mr. Morelli, aye. Mr. Desaulniers. Ms. Ross. Aye. Ms. Ross, aye. Mr. Nagus. Mr. Cole. No. Mr. Cole, no. Mr. Burgess.
Burgess votes no.
Mr. Burgess, no. Mr. Reschenthaler.
Quick happy birthday to Dr. Burgess, and I'll vote no.
Oh, happy birthday. Yeah.
Mr. Reschenthaler, no. Ms. Fishbach. No. Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, aye.
Clerk will report the total.
7 ayes, 4 nays.
And the motion is agreed to. Accordingly, I will carry this for the majority.
And Mr. Reschenthaler will carry it for the Republicans. And I note, Mr. Chairman, at least the vote was closer.
So we'll probably do this in about 15 minutes. All right? Okay, and without objection, the committee is adjourned.